split screen. I don't know. Oops. Whatever. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Okay. Finally, I beat Trotil! Oh my fucking god. Attempts, bro. Attempts. 7,070! Most of those weren't practice attempts, man! That was a lot of from 0! Plus, holy shit. 14,000. Was that 905? $975 attempts, dude. Bam! Fuck you! Okay. It is now the day after I beat this. Crazy! I'm just gonna hit a nice nice run through. In practice mode, just talk about all the fun of the level, because I got some stuff to talk about. This took me like 18 days, which is fast, but also I grinded it so hard, especially towards the end. Overall, let's just talk part by part. This pre-drop, probably one of the I'm freaking sick. Probably one of the best parts of the level. It kept me engaged from 0. I don't want to keep playing this. I'm done, bro. There's not much to talk about here. It's mostly, it gets very consistent. And there's no parts that are like, wow, this is really stupid. The first click is probably the worst part. But even that I got consistent at. But at first, it's like, you just die to it. And the first, like, 2 spider clicks just over and over and over again. Because the black orb, if you click too early, you die. If you click too late, you still teleport and whatnot, but you still die to the spike. I'm going to talk about all the fun hitboxes. This is dumb. I rarely died here, though, so it's not so bad. But over here is especially... Not especially. Neither of these are that bad. But you can land on this block and then you die, which is silly. And then you can also get clipped by this spike, despite, you know, how it's just sticking out. I don't even know what's going on over there. That's a big problem. I never noticed this one. A lot of the hitboxes are just pre-placed for where the decoration is going to go, but usually by the time you're near the hitbox, it's not actually moved in yet. This duel is just weird. People do it differently all the time. It's one of those parts where I hate listening to other people's like, patterns for it. I just buffer a click here, and then hold, and then it buffers the spider click too. And then I just click whenever. I was never consistent on when I clicked here, because it didn't matter. This wave was hard at first, but I got consistent at it eventually. I apparently died there like 100 times. Here's one of the fun hitboxes. Just look at all of this. Just take it in, because like, yeah, this is a very reoccurring issue. There's just hitboxes everywhere that aren't where they're supposed to be. This should not be here, but it's there because that's where the whole structure is supposed to go, but they didn't think to try much more past that. That whole section is fairly inoffensive. I don't think it's that good, but it's not that bad. It's fine. Then you have this part. I unfortunately learned a strat from someone else where you can enter this low as the ship and then you get to buffer the click. so that way you don't have to time it, because the timing is hard. And that took me a while to get consistent with, but it was fine eventually. But then you have this. I hate this. If there's any part of the level I truly hate, it's all of this and the upcoming wave. It is just so awkward. You have to do a light click here, although you can hold if you click late enough. You have to hit the red orb, and you have to hold this red orb, and then you have to do the green orb timing, which depends on when you hit the red orb, and then it's also like a middle timing. And so I died there a million times. And then you have to do instantly, you gotta do another robot click, and then you gotta do this whole wave. And it is just this series of clicks I struggle to get down so much. Then you have just this. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? First of all, this saw hitbox is slightly too low, which is bad enough, but then you just have this. So you just die to nothing. You just have to know the hitboxes here, because otherwise you're just gonna go bonk. You're just gonna bonk here. And it's super dumb. It's so dumb. Why is it like this? I would rather it moves up into me. Like, even look at where I am, and it's still not even there. Why? Fortunately, unlike the other part, which I found awkward because you just kind of do everything all together, this part you have that yellow orb, green orb back there, and it gives me time to just like mentally prepare for this. And then you have the worst hitboxes in the entire level. Like, some of them. Like, wow. First of all, whatever is going on down here, this isn't too offensive because of how offensive this is. you have these 3 spikes, and these are the annoying ones. You have this like half spike thing going on, but for whatever reason, all of these have a second spike, and this one specifically, the spike is extra low despite being visually the smallest spike by far. And then these two also have like a second spike that pokes out like a pixel down and to the right, although that one's like, it's whatever. You're never gonna die to these because you're dying to this. But that doesn't matter. Well, this doesn't matter down here because you have to enter this fairly high in order to actually make it past this gap, which is evil. This part also has very funny hitboxes. The only one that's actually bad, though, is this spike up here. The rest of this is just smaller than it actually looks, and if anything, I kind of like it, because it feels kind of cool to go through what looks like this. And you have this. This is... My problem with this part is it's just ambiguous. When it comes to getting to 55, there are 3 main choke points. You have 34, which I mentioned, you have 43, which I mentioned, and then you have 53. Aside from that, dying anywhere was like I was kind of throwing by the end. Early on, it was normal to die other places, but by the end, it was like, if I died outside of those 3 spots, and it wasn't like the first 5%, I was throwing. My issue here is it's just kind of weirdly structured. This click is slightly shorter than this one, which you have to hold a bit longer for, which makes it kind of awkward for me. I'm just bad at that kind of thing. And then while you're being thrown around by portals and recuperating from these clicks, you have to deal with this one. And I died barely clipping here so many times. Fortunately, after that, it's easy peasy. You can just skip this. I never even bothered. The second I found out I could not have to click that blue orb, I was doing it every time. This blue orb, if you click... This blue orb's a nasty one. A lot of these clicks were very scary at first, but I did get very consistent by the end. But this blue orb, if you click too early, you dodge this spike down here, but you kind of clip the top of this ramp, and then you land on the pad in a way that makes this ship impossible, which is so cool. And then we get the hardest part of the level at 62. 62, 63, 64, that combined percentage is absolutely the hardest part of the level. My main struggle here is this part, these mini wave clicks, and then getting used to getting into the normal sized wave here. It is just evil. I accidentally hit the start pause. But then you have this. This is probably one of the most frustrating parts of the level hitbox wise. For whatever reason, the hitboxes here just stick out like an upsetting amount relative to the actual decoration. Like, even look how far past I am and it's still poking out, and it's poking out a lot more when you're right there. So it's half blind. There's just invisible hitboxes that make the gap way tighter than it actually is. This spider, I hate this spider. For whatever reason, I'm assuming 2.2, on specific alignments, you can teleport between, like, this triangle block and then this cube block. You would teleport in between them, and you would die when you get stuck in the ceiling. That happened to me 3 times from 0. I would pass the hardest part of the level, I'd get to 64, and I'd just clip into the ceiling. It was so annoying. This whole part gets pretty consistent. The main issue here is, if you click too early here, you're too high out of the spider portal, and this next click just becomes impossible. You don't hit the ground by the time you hit the spike. My strat for these clicks, I did not know how to go about this for a while. I line up with, like, the center or the edge of this block, and I'd buffer this click, and then I'd basically do the exact same thing here. I just have to hold the buffer for a bit longer to get here. Then you have this wave. This wave is so scary, but I don't know how. I got really consistent at it by the end, and thank God for that. I died here a couple times, but I did pretty well overall. I just really got a feel for how long you actually click here and stuff. And you have this. This spike is so annoying with how it sticks out. There were so many times in runs. I never died to it from 0, but there's so many times in runs where you just clip that spike. Apparently, in the unnerfed, there was, like, a second one earlier on, which is so dumb. And then these 2 clicks. This click, I never died to this click from 0. This is the hard one. This one isn't nearly as bad, at least from what I can tell. I never really thought much differently of either of them, but I did die to this click once from 0. Then you have the ending. How many ending deaths did I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had 8 deaths to the ending. Keep in mind, the level ends at 90%. There's a few things here. First of all, I don't need this invisible ass spike killing me like that. This whole this whole wave thing is such a pain in the butt sometimes. I could die to it like 10 times in a row. The biggest annoyance is, first of all, this spike. You can pass this block here and still die to this spike. And then also, these green blocks indicate, like, H block, S block, J block, and stuff like that. They have an H block here, which is the one that lets your cube bump up into things. So they foresaw that, but they didn't. So they foresaw you holding into the cube portal, right? But they didn't foresee the wave actually hitting the block, so there's no S block here. And I don't get it. I don't get why it's like that. This upcoming robot is a lot harder than it looks because there's a lot of clicks. This one in particular, this gap isn't that hard, but if you land too far over to the right, this jump becomes, I believe, pretty impossible if you're too far. You just hit the saw. And there's a few clicks like that. This one in particular, thank God this is here. I landed here all the time. You can't, if you jump too early, you clip this and then you fall down. If you jump too late, you just completely miss these slopes and you just land down here, which means the entrance into this ship is slightly different every time, and you know that goes well. I died here a lot of times in runs. I think at least once from 0, maybe twice. But it is just hard to control yourself. Sometimes you clip this slope and you still live, but you either have too much momentum or you're just thrown off by it. I died to like that spike all the time. And then it's not hard. Ignoring, well, this isn't hard, but out of all the hitboxes in this level, there's just an invisible saw here. And there is a period where you would be able to click on the yellow orb, but too bad. There's a giant saw in your face. And then you have all this ending. I actually figured out a visual cue like last second where I would line up with this. But then you have the robot clicks, the wave clicks, and the ship clicks, which are so hard. I died to 87, 88, and 89. I somehow never died to the robot though, which I'm so glad because I did it all the time in runs. The green orb is kind of sketchy. If you hold too long, you just can't. The green orb is just no longer possible. You have to make sure to hit it like kind of early, kind of late though. This wave is just scary. And then this ship, this saw, dude, is so in the way. Look at that. It's so tight, dude. You have to do that at 88%, functionally 98%. Oh, after everything, you have to swoop under that. And you know I died to it instantly my first attempt here. So you actually do that, and then you have this straight fly. The problem is, imagine these spikes and this spike overlaid with each other. That is a tight straight fly. But it's hard to always see it like that because everything's just all over the place. Like, yeah, you technically have more room, but you have to deal with, you know, all of this. You have to then deal with this. So if you're low trying to dodge these, you gotta then go high over here. I always just treat it as a straight fly, but it's so hard to mentally figure out where you're actually supposed to be. And I did die here. Once from 0. I died to the saw, and then I died to straight fly. I'm pretty sure exactly like that. And then you beat it, and I can't believe I beat it. Yeah. What are my thoughts on the level, though? I talked a bit about my thoughts. Someone put it very well as I was looking through a couple completions. This is the best worst level ever, or the worst best level ever. Just combine the two. It has like the core of like such a nice level. It can be so fun sometimes, but it feels so ungodly unplaytested because of the hitboxes, and the balancing is ridiculous. 55 to 100 is fairly consistently difficult, but in the sense that it's all difficult, not all equally difficult. 63 is a major choke point. I died to 63 15 times, 64 7 times, and 62 5 times. And there was one death to 62 that wasn't the wave, and then it comes to 64. You have 3 deaths that were because of a frame alignment thing, 2 deaths that weren't, and then 2 deaths that were just from the wave. So it's like 22 deaths total to just those 3 percentages. And then you have to actually get past it. And I died to the ending 8 times. And I died between the wave and the ending like 5 times. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. And so it's so exhausting to play by the end, because if you aren't the kind of person who just flukes it and stuff, it just never ends. You just keep dying to the ending over and over again. It doesn't feel possible because you're too nervous. The only reason I was able to beat it, I think, was because after 8 ending deaths, you aren't as nervous anymore. You're no longer quite that nervous. So it's the best worst level ever. The hitboxes are atrocious. The balancing is god-awful. But it's really fun at times. But once it gets into your head, you start dying to the ending a bunch. You realize you've died to the 63 wave 20 times from 0. And then you realize getting to 55 is still hard, even though I basically only found it to be like 3 choke points. More like 3.5. There's still a few other parts you can die to, but not nearly as bad for me. So it's like 3.5 choke points before 55, but sometimes you just never pass them. I would literally get to 35 sometimes every single attempt, and then I'd get past 34. I meant 34. I'd get past 34 finally, and then I'd get to like 70. Like sometimes I would just go, but because I would just get locked up sometimes though. But I think the good thing is the pre-drop, unlike Neon Skyline where I dreaded playing the level because of the pre-drop, I think the pre-drop is fun and consistent enough to where I'm not going insane playing the level. I feel like I get to play the level, right? I'm not playing the same 4 clicks over and over and over again. I'm playing like 20 seconds of gameplay, and then sometimes I get to play 40 seconds. And I like that so much more than the alternative of if the pre-drop was super duper hard and you never get to the drop. That would be the worst thing ever. So yeah, hitboxes, atrocious. I genuinely cannot believe it was shipped in this state. But it is a very fun level. And I'm so happy to have done it, because it is just so outside of my skill set at all. You know, my top 2 directions in Neon Skyline, you wouldn't think I'd play Trotil. You wouldn't think I'd play the Wave choke point level. Not that I had many other options. The reason I chose this level was because I wanted something between directions and calcor on the list. Even though I find Neon Skyline harder, it's not above directions. I wanted a list hardest and a personal hardest at the same time. So I only had the choice of like 3 levels. You have Shimmer, which is Wave choke points. You have Crimson Planet, which is Wave choke points. And you have Trotil, which is Wave choke points. Overall, I just thought Trotil was the most interesting option. It's the least played one by like a wide margin. Shimmer has a trillion victors. Crimson Planet is a classic old level. It also probably has a ton of victors. Trotil's actually like new, but not that new. I think it's not long. I think it's around the same time as Shimmer, but Shimmer just gets so many more players. I remember when this first placed is probably one of the crazy things. I remember this first placed, and it was just too hard. Are you telling me? You killing me? You kidding me? It was something around it was around Crimson Planet and Calcor and Shimmer. Like, I can't beat a level like that. But here I am. I did it in less than 20 days. Less than the amount of attempts it took me to beat directions all that time ago. Thank God. If this took me more attempts, I would have been sad. So yeah, I'm glad I'm done. This was hard by the end. This was kicking my butt by the end. I'm glad it's done. My next plan, funnily enough, I literally just did Neon Skyline. I did Trotil, so that's 2 hardest back to back, and I'm planning on a 3rd one. I'm gonna finish off Calcor. I have 2 runs. I want to finish that off, and then I want to do some important levels to me, like 7 of them or so, before I go do Zodiac. So the hardest train doesn't end. I got one more in me, and then I'm gonna do a video talking more in depth or experience wise with all 3 in the same video, just going into more strats, slightly more scripted, and just more my thoughts and experience. Oh, so yeah, Calcor's next. So yeah, bye bye.